You don't need to be skinny and pretty. Okay, well, where did you find that 16th century formula? Use real citations, lady. Whew, I am toasty. It's like only 30 degrees outside, but the heat is cranked and I'm cooking. Say hi to Trubbish, and this is a little bit different format for me. I am got a hair mask in and I'm post gym shower, but I have decided that I want to do something a little bit different. And what I want to do is talk about a book. This book. Backwards, obviously, because that's how I'm filming. It's called Herbs and Things. Tiff here, and I found it on Amazon, and I'm really disappointed at the rating that it has. It's like 4.7 stars or something like that, with like 86 reviews, and I'm unhappy. So apparently this book did make a bigger impression than I thought it did, and I just thought you should know. If you want somebody else's opinion on it, maybe check the reviews, but I didn't look at them because I have my opinion and I'm okay with just my opinion. So I found it for 50 cents at a Christian run Goodwill, or a thrift shop, not a Goodwill. The lady was pretty upset when she realized what kind of book it was. But that's besides the point, and I just found that funny. So I grabbed it because of the herbs. And the things get a little weird. So my sister-in-law and I, we were flipping through the back of it, and like we're like, wow, some of these, there's like spells in the back, and there's like some herbology stuff in the front. And so I was really curious about the herbology side of it. This book was published a long time ago. Mine has like a bunch of notes in it, like that, like older lady, like your grandma's style cursive, which I think is always fun and why I like used books. This book was published in 1972. I don't know how old my specific copy is, but that's how old it is. So last year I was flipping through this book, going through the herb stuff, and I got to the center of the book, which I'd never really looked at. The center of the book is some spells and also some weird stuff. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to swear or not. So here, I've just flipped open to one. We have this lovely drawing that goes along with an extremely fat phobic whole tirade about this 5 vanity pounds this woman like gained after she had surgery or for a car accident or something. So what I'm going to do, I've never read this whole book. It is tabbed for the herbs, but I think we're going to take them out, and I think we're going to get rid of this book once I have gone through it. But what I feel like needs to be done is I'm going to read it, and I think what I'm going to do is kind of vlog style, where like I read it and then react as I read it, but I'm also going to be making notes, and I'll do like a summary at the end, because that is kind of where I am with my life right now. So we'll see if I get this done and how long it takes me, and we'll go from there. And I hope you guys enjoy this, because this is my no makeup, hair pulled back, hair mask, post gym face. And you know what? I'm too old to care. So I'll see you guys in a little bit after I've read some pages. All right. Hi. So, starting with this book, Herbs and Things. Good little backwards. So we're starting, so there's acknowledgments here to all the friends who helped me on this book with grammar, criticism, comments, faith, lists some names, including a person named Owl, which is cute, and especially people who gave me their folk and family remedies, and those brave souls who allowed me to experiment on them and who submitted to my weird washes and incantations. Please don't experiment on your friends. Not in like the way that this book is going to go into, because some of these things I don't know. A special thanks to all of you marvelous, helpful librarians in all sections of the University of California Library and the other libraries where I was allowed to research. So I'm going to get into it in a minute, and I've already filmed that part, and I thought that was going to be a lot shorter than it was, but I got a little angry going through the first part of this book. And the first part, the way this book's organized is organized into first
like it's an alphabetical list of human conditions, whatever that means. I use human condition in a different set of terms than she's used it here. And the names of the materials that affect them. And then she goes into like, we've got the organic material medica, she calls it. And then that's like almost 100 pages, I think, something like that. And then we get into chapter 4, which is a table of weights and measures and their abbreviations. I don't know I need a whole chapter for a table. It should just be a part of a table. So your editor sucked. Your friends that helped you edit sucked. Your friends that also helped you edit and organize the list, they sucked at their job too. Like, this book maybe could have been something, but I'm really irritated at it. Like, I'm glad it isn't something. Chapter 5, directions for the gathering, collecting, using, and storing of botanical plants. Some of that can be interesting. It's only like 3 pages, so maybe should have been an appendix. Chapter 6, where and how to purchase botanicals. All that's going to be outdated because this book was, again, published in the 70s. So that's all part 1. Part 1 is all about herbs. That's the herbs in Herbs and Things. Part 2 is the things, and the things get a little weird. The things are recipes. And it starts off with a poem, and when we get to part 2 of my video series, I'll read you the poem. And then it goes into, let's see, chapter 7, we start with aphrodisiacs, because in her parentheses, first things first. I guess, I don't know, maybe she was super into sex magic. Chapter 8, brain recipes. And we have chapter 9, herbal baths for beauty and health. And I'm going to say it a little bit later, but this woman is way too into beauty and outward appearance, and it is unhealthy. And that's part of what I want to get into in part 2. But there are some stuff in part 1 that I'm not happy with. So part 10, or chapter 10, recipes for beauty, which I thought we just freaking did. So then we have, like, I'm not bashing, like, if you want, like, I use a ton of stuff on my skin and my face to make my skin nice and things like that, because I like to feel good about myself, but I don't think that should be, like, I've said, I'm going to say it again, so I'm going to say it right now too. To be Wiccan or witchy or spiritual, you don't need to be skinny and pretty. Pretty is subjective, and skinny is also subjective and relative. And what you look like has no impact on your value as a human being. And that is where this book pisses me off. It does. So that's what we're going to be thinking about as we go into this. And what a perfect place for me to start to get a little ragey, because this is the chapter that made me so mad. And I didn't see this when I picked it up in the secondhand shop. It is called chapter 12, Fat and How Not to Be. And I'm not going to show you the images. I did that. I showed you one in last night, and I'm not going to show you another one today. I'm going to wait, and I'm going to take pictures of them, and I'm going to put them into the video so that you can see them facing the right direction. But what she does is she's drawn, or she's got an artist, I'm sorry, his name is Michael S. Moore. She got him to draw all of these interesting images of overweight women, women of different body shapes, and you're supposed to color them in so that you can manifest making yourself skinnier. One of them is literally like a box with what looks like a blob from like a 1980s horror movie coming out of it. So you're supposed to like meditate on the body that you want while you color these in, or what was it, like, I think she said to like color them in ugly colors so that you would look at them and see them as ugly. And I'm like, these are just representations of different body shapes as I'm looking through it. And I was so frustrated. The person who had it before me colored all their hair blonde, so I'm assuming the person who had it before me was blonde. I don't know, man. I hate it. Anyway, so that's that chapter. And then there's a ton of recipes on how not to be fat. And a lot of them are literally eating. You know what I'll do is when I go through that part of the video, I will count the calories in these meals because I'm pretty good at estimating calories. And I'll make sure that I put like a little warning thing up there when I start doing that because I know sometimes that can trigger me and I don't want it to like trigger other people. So I'll put a little warning when I do that. I'm going to put a warning in the beginning of this video too that we're going to be discussing some shit. So then chapter 13, common ailments, recipes for bruises, burns, warts, nose, throats, colds, coughs, and oh my aching teeth. Go to a dentist. I know that not everyone can afford that. I wish we could. I didn't go to a dentist for 20 years because I couldn't afford it. And I got really lucky in that my teeth survived and weren't that bad. But not everyone has that. And I really wish that people could just go to a dentist. Chapter 14, backs, bad ones and good ones. None of your body parts are bad. Chapter 15, recipes for arthritis, rheumatism, joints and aching muscles. Animals and what to do about them. This one should be interesting because it starts off, pets can be a problem. Chapter 17, fungal infection and the dread athlete's foot. Chapter 18, sachets. How do you say it? I've heard people say it both ways. Sachets is probably how I'd prefer it. Sachets and potpourris. Moist potpourris. I hope you like the word moist, because I don't mind it. And I'll probably just read it when it comes across the screen. Chapter 19, scent beads, incense, and rose recipes. This one I found interesting. I did skim it because it's a little bit on how to make incense, but I can get that from a non-toxic person. I wish people had labels. Part 3, the secrets. I don't want to spoil this part because this is the part that I flipped to. This is the part where it gets really weird. Like, really weird. At least to me. Okay, so from my perspective and the way that I was raised, and it gets a little weird. There's some interesting spells and conjurations. So that part's interesting. So I don't want to spoil those chapters because I feel like you should experience them the same way that I experienced them. And that's without other things around them. So that's where we're going to start. I'm going to go ahead and maybe... So I skimmed the acknowledgements. The preface here, she says, so many people have asked me how I got started in the study of herbs that I thought I might spend a few moments telling you. Okay, that's where this part, okay. Okay. This part makes... I didn't read this before I picked up the book, and I'm so happy that I only paid 50 cents for this book. My mother is French-Canadian and grew up on a farm. No problem with that. Somewhere on her side of the family is an American Indian grandmother. And if you're not from the States and you're watching this, or if you're not from the part of the States that I am, I don't know if it's the same in your part of the States, but I remember telling my friends about this when I moved to the UK, that it's really common for people, particularly in my experience, white women, to say, oh yeah, my great-great-grandmother was a Cherokee princess. Don't know if that's common where you're from, but it is so common for people that I grew up in my age group, and I really hope in the younger groups this isn't a thing, and that to claim that there's some Native American heritage so that you have an excuse to mock, belittle, appropriate, however, use culture other than yours. When you claim ancestry like this, I'm not the best person to tell you how you should and shouldn't do it, but it is my understanding from things that I have read, and things that I have read, that
I still don't have the words to correctly organize my thoughts on this. And I don't know the correct way to discuss heritage that you're not sure of because it was more than likely due to an assault in your family. And because that is such a sensitive topic and it is such a difficult way to talk about historical violence, and that I'm just going to say this way that it was mentioned in this preface, this is not how you do it. It needs to be done with sensitivity, tact, and respect, and mentioning it the way that it was mentioned here is not the correct way to do it.
I don't know the best way to say this. I really don't know the best way to say this. You claiming that ancestry in order for you to sell a book is just furthering the violence. And I think that at the very minimum, it's wildly inappropriate. And it's harmful. That's at the minimum. And I'm not educated enough on this. I'm working on being educated on this topic, but I'm not educated enough to give you all the reasons why. So I will find a video or a link or something so that you can go and learn that on your own. Because this is a problem and we need to stop doing it. That's it. We need to stop. She goes on to say, my father's father grew up in Majorca, Spain, and my father in Puerto Rico. As a little girl, I remember being told that you use this and that herb for this and that purpose. But I was skeptical and questioned everything I was told. Even in high school, when I started to write down the uses for different herbs and learned why eating certain foods was good for you, I have a whole opinion on that too. Part of me still scoffed at the supposed cures. She goes on to say that in college she worked as a library assistant. She came across certain articles. After graduate school, she went to graduate school, studied marine biology. You may wonder what zoology, human physiology, chemistry, physics, and marine biology has to do with herb lore. A lot. This makes me sad to be a biologist. Anyway, after grad school, I spent a year on the island of Oahu, so we have more appropriation. Because she says she studied the Hawaiians' use of herbs. How did you study it? Like, were you an apprentice to an indigenous practitioner? Or did you just watch people and steal their shit? Because you probably did the latter based on the rest of this book. Then she spent the next few years in California. And then here's the thing, right? Okay, so this is the part. I feel like I need to refilm so much of this because I'm just getting ragey. And I don't know. I don't want to say something wrong. But I'm trying really hard here. So if I do say something wrong, correct me because I'm always open to correction. All right, so the real turning point. One May afternoon, while driving my lovely eggplant Porsche along a curving road high above the ocean, zipping around a turn, downshifting, the gear broke off at the base. The car skidded into a mountain, and my passenger and I flew out. That sounds traumatizing and horrific, and I'm sorry that happened. The car skidded into a mountain, and I skipped back up to the line. My beautiful Porsche did somersaults and mashed every part of its surface, leaving only the rear deck lid intact. I'm not gonna comment on how she's remembering her traumatic event, but I don't know if that's how I would remember it personally, so I find that interesting. I went into retirement for some months to knit back together. A friend gave me a little book to read called Sachets and Dry Perfumes. So that whole thing on sachets and potpourris, I'm really curious how much of it is just lifted straight from that book, so maybe I'll have to find that book and see. I became interested in the sachets and tried to purchase some of the ingredients. Some of them were completely unavailable. She goes on to talk about how hard it was to find. And then she got a collection of things up. She spent every day of 6-month recuperation period studying old herbals in the rare book section of libraries. She drove down to New Mexico with friends and picked up some folk remedies. A trip to Maryland, New York netted some interesting information from folks and libraries. Other trips, more information. Finally, my skepticism about the efficacy of herbs used disappeared. So I wouldn't have mind that she went and gathered things from other people, but she didn't cite them. She didn't cite anybody in here. As far as I remember, I think there's some citations in the very back in the things section, where she found some of the stuff, but most of it is it's literally just what year she found it, a 16th century formula. Okay, well, where did you find that 16th century formula? Use real citations, lady. Like, for being a graduate student, why do you not know how to cite? I don't understand. Were things that different in the 70s? No, they weren't, because I've read papers from the 70s and people used freaking citations. Where are your citations? Because I understand that a lot of folk medicine and indigenous medicine in particular is like heavily guarded secrets, and you wouldn't necessarily want to cite that. But if you're not going to cite it, if you don't feel that it's something you should cite, I feel like it's something you shouldn't put in a book, because that means you didn't necessarily have the permission of the person to reproduce it. And I know that there's a lot of that, because I've done some research on my own for various projects for when I was in undergrad, and I came across the issue with finding publications, and the biggest publication that I found said I had permission to cite to reproduce this because these are heavily guarded family secrets. And so not everything is 100% clear in here, so you can't reproduce this directly, but here is some of the native plants to our area that indigenous peoples did once use and the general things they use them for. Do not try to do this, because these are not actual recipes. These are just general uses. Because of all the cultural reasons around it and why those plants were important to people, they don't necessarily just want people taking that information, and that is valid and fair. And if you shouldn't be putting it in a book if you can't cite it. If you ethically can't cite it, you can ethically not reproduce it. That's my point on it. And I'm getting really angry, and I'm very sorry. I'm getting really ragey about this book. Okay, maybe I'll burn it when I'm done. In writing this book, it is hoped that enough interesting information, historical and otherwise, has been given to stimulate your interest in the field. Cite me your historical sources. I want citations. I want to be able to look this up. I don't want to just trust you and because you got an accident in your Porsche. Okay. One of the reasons, I don't remember, it's in here. But somewhere along in here, she says part of the reason that she got into herbal medicine is to help herself lose weight because of her recovery from her car accident. So then she says, like any medicine, these materials should be used with care. When misused or used injudiciously, they are potentially dangerous. That is basically just her covering her ass. You legally should put that in when you write a book on medicine, especially if you're not a doctor. And obviously, I mean, she went to graduate school, but she's not a medical doctor. To use them effectively, quit smoking and learn to breathe and smell again. So that's why she says to stop using tobacco, all these things. I'm like, how do you not use tobacco? But we can use other indigenous medicine, and that's fine. Simplify your diet and stop eating the garbage and non-essential foods that every day poison us just a little bit more. And I believe somewhere in here she talks about how many calories she was eating a day, and it is dangerous. So anyway, okay, so it's the next day, and I just finished work, so I've got a little bit of time to start going through this. So I was gonna go through a little bit and then make a comment, but I opened up the book and I forgot that the very first part of it is a nice list of things. And again, I apologize. I will try to remember to take a picture of this and put it up on the screen. Apologize, it's in reverse. I don't do videos very often, so I don't have proper camera set up. So we're just doing the phone front camera because why not? So start off with a list of different uses for all the plants mentioned in here. So we have some categories, starting with abortion, which says is listed for historical interest, which is good that they listed it that way, because I mean, these would probably, not medical advice, probably still work because they're poisons. But it's definitely not good to follow these things. So maybe I shouldn't put that list up. Maybe I should blur it if I put it up. Basically, there's a list of things that you can use, although it is good to know them, because if you're taking them supplementally while you're pregnant, you could have a bad time. And so some of these things are actually fairly common things. You'd have to take them in high levels, I assume. Not medical advice. Talk to your doctor if you're taking any additional supplements. One of them, for example, St. John's wort. is on here. Thyme, I'm assuming it would have to be a lot of thyme. And then there's a few other things that probably not things that you would be eating. Ergot is one of them. So ergot poisoning, hello witch trials. Ergot poisoning can result in abortion, and I know that one from the knowledge I had to get growing up with horses, because you have to worry. Well, we learned about ergot poisoning in cases where, you know, the corn that you feed your livestock can go off and develop ergot, and if you're feeding that to livestock that are pregnant, you could result in like the loss of offspring. So anyway, the next category is abscess. So things used to treat abscesses. Then we have alcoholism is on here. Alterative. So I'm not actually sure what an alterative is, so I'm gonna look that up really quick, because I used to be good at words. I'm not good at words. So Google wants to give me the meaning of alternative, which is kind of what I was thinking it meant. So alterative, let's try again. Alterative, scrolling down a little further. Tending to cure or restore health. So general health tonic, which is interesting on there. Things like echinacea, sassafras. I just like saying that one. There was an old book that was like sassafras tea. It was the ones that, I don't remember the book series, or kids books, and they had like Creole and sassafras tea. Let me see, maybe I'll have to look her up and put her in here because I love sassafras tea. Book, yeah, it's the Serendipity series, that's what it was. So she was a little sassy elephant. She was like, yeah, her name was Sassafras Tea. I love those books because I love the one with Creole, and she was like a monster, and I don't know, those books were always so cute and so cutely drawn, and I loved them as a kid. And the Creole one used to make me really like teary because it was like a monster that everyone thought was big and ugly, and I thought she was really pretty. Anyway, anaphrodisiacs. So opposite of aphrodisiac, I guess. Cocaine. Good to know. Liquor to excess. We call that whiskey dick where I'm from. Vegetable diet. Apparently, a vegetarian diet can reduce your libido. Here's some anesthetics. Historic anesthetics are on here, which is interesting. It's like some wintergreen because it has like a skin numbing thing. Anodyne, so that's another word that I'm not familiar with, so let's look that one up. Anodyne. I don't know how much of this I'm going to cut off. This is just me talking about herbs for like 10 minutes, probably. An anodyne is not likely to provoke dissent or offense. Oh, here we go. Pain-killing drug or medicine. I don't know why that's separate than an anesthetic. Aspirin is on here, because again, aspirin is derived from a natural product. Belladonna. Oh yeah, you can't feel pain if you're dead. Anthelmintics, which are antiparasitics. Anti-alcohols, which she's put under alcoholism. Anticoagulants. Antiemetics. I believe those are, antiemetics are things that make you not nauseous. Anti-emetic, Googling again. Yeah, things that stop you from vomiting. So not just make you not feel nauseous, but stop you from vomiting. Spearmint, that, yeah. When I'm hungover, I like to put spearmint and strawberries in water and just drink that because it really helps. Anti-hemorrhagic, antihydrotic. I'm assuming that's something that makes you not hydrated. Oh gosh, I keep getting really close to the camera when I'm searching. I probably should stop. Antihydrotic, a drug that counters hydrosis. Helpful. Hydrosis. Sweating. So things that make you stop sweating. Belladonna again is in there. anti-periodic. Interesting. Arsenic. Yeah, most of these, like I said, these are poisons. Antipyretic. Okay, so God, I feel like I should know this one. I feel like I'm back in my horse bull days and I'm getting quizzed on medical terminology. Antipyretics reduce fevers. Makes sense because I was like, it's fire. So reduces fevers. Antiseptics. Interesting. Yeah, so antiseptics, antispasmodics, aphrodisiacs, alcohol in small quantities. So you know, just to make sure. She has some stuff that's double starred. I was just checking real quick what's it for, and she says if used together in an oil for massage or an herbal bath. I find that interesting because for a lot of people, massages are aphrodisiacs in themselves. So, I mean, yeah, you massage someone with a floral scent, and they're probably gonna enjoy it at least a little bit. Yeah, a lot of these are flowers. So anemone, pansy, periwinkle, valerian, wild poppy. All right, then we have appetite depressants and appetite stimulants, arthritis and rheumatism, asthma. Interestingly, one of these is amber for asthma, which is interesting. Nettles, I have heard nettles can be used for asthma and also arthritis, so I wonder if she has that there. She doesn't have it there, but that's interesting because there's actually a little bit of scientific study, if I remember right, that backs up the use of a nettles derivative for arthritis pain, which is kind of cool. Athlete's foot, which I find funny because the person that had this book before me highlighted it. And they highlighted apple cider vinegar, onion juice, and red clover compress under athlete's foot. So I wonder if they tried those. Back, I'm assuming that means back pain, but because I didn't know the back was well, okay, so this says an alphabetical list of many human conditions and the names of the materials that affect them. So I guess the back is a human condition. Then this will affect it. So fun. Bactericidals. I don't know why those. Didn't she have an antibacterial? Why wouldn't that have been in the antibacterial? This book, man. I guess there isn't an antibacterial? I thought there was. So bactericidal is just antibacterial. Beauty. So beauty is, well, I mean, yeah, beauty is a human condition, but I don't know. Bedwetting. Birth control. Again, don't take any of this seriously. And like, I mean, seriously, as in like, don't try this. Don't try any of these without talking to a doctor, probably. Insect bites. You could try some of those probably. Because these are just like oils, for bee stings. Like this one says balm for bee and scorpion stings. That's literally, I don't know, I guess balm is like, balm's probably the plant, not like literally make a balm out of something. She just means a plant, the plant. Basil. So some of, I don't know, because like when I was a kid and got stung by a bee, we did like a baking soda lemon juice or something like that, like compress on it, and that, because then when the baking soda dries, you can like peel it and it pulls out the stinger. I don't know if it actually did. I was like 6 the last time I got stung by a bee. Blood cleansers. So yeah, blood pressure. Bodybuilding. Alfalfa is on here for bodybuilding, which makes sense in a way because alfalfa is a legume. It's high in protein. So I believe I wouldn't be surprised if some of the protein powders use alfalfa in them. Boils, bones, brain, breasts, bronchitis, bruises, cuts, burns, sunburn, canker sores, cardiac depressants, cardiac stimulants, a carminative. I don't know what a carminative is. Okay, we've already passed the 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to go a little faster. Carminative is a drug that relieves flatulence. I'm learning new things. Catarrhs, catarrh, like CATARRH. So let's see that. TARRH. It's a buildup of mucus in an airway or the cavity of the body. So if you got a lot of snot. Cathartics and purgatives. Catharsis is like a release of an emotion through art. So I'm guessing it's a release of things. So probably like her nice way of saying constipation would be my guess. Cerebral depressants and sedatives, which includes both narcotics, including opium, and hypnotics. Cerebral excitants and stimulants, which includes caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant. Chastity. So I don't understand that one. Colds and chest. Colds in the head. See also coughs, colic, constipation. See cathartics. Yep. Yeah. So corns, coughs, cuts, bruises, dandruff, demulcent. Another word. Demulcent is relieving inflammation. So it should just have been under anti-inflammation. Dental anodynes, deodorants, diaphoretics. I should know this word too. Diaphoretic makes you sweat. Diarrhea, diet, which she says see appetite depressants. This is what I wanted to get into this book, right? Okay, so anytime you talk about diet, she's talking about dieting. So appetite suppressants, digestion disinfectants, diuretics, things that make you pee, douches. So there's a star here at the top that says starred are good for the whites, which is vaginal discharge in parentheses. Douches are bad for you. Like don't do them. I will give a pass to this book in that it was written in the 70s, and I don't know what the medical consensus was on that, but don't do it. Just don't. There's tons of reasons why you shouldn't do it. Dreams. I don't know if these are things to induce dreams or suppress dreams. I don't know. Drugs to kick. Okay, so she says if you take alfalfa, you can kick drugs. If you take Angelica, you can kick alcohol. If you take calamus, you can kick tobacco. Celery, alcohol. These should have just been under addiction or something. Or, I mean, she had alcoholism. Why wouldn't she just put these other things in there? Genuinely already irritated with the layout of this book. Dyes. This one I did find interesting, right? Because, so, these are things... plants that you can use to dye fabrics, and I've done a lot of this. There's tons of stuff on natural dyeing. Natural dyeing is so much fun. I've done a few things on this channel actually. Anyway, so you can look at that as you will. Dysentery, embalming. So some of these are some historic things. Most of these are historic. So I won't be keeping this book when I'm done with it. I kept it for the process of this because I wanted to be like, this is why you should vet books on this types of things before you buy them, even if you find them secondhand, just get rid of them. Because you can look most of this up. This is a collection of other people's work. This is not like, I believe she does have citations in the end, maybe, but it should be cited because a lot of this is all historic knowledge. This is a lot of indigenous knowledge. Some of it we've moved past and been like, no, that's dangerous, don't do that. Some we have modern day derivatives of that can be dose controlled, because that's the big thing with herbal medicine is that some of it does really work. In fact, probably a lot of it did work, but dosage is really important. You can't just go eat a plant and expect it to work because you need dosage. And if you eat the wrong amount, it can either kill you or not do anything. So dosage, controlled dosage for your body weight, your activity level is important. That's why clinical trials are really important. Anyway, moving on. Emetics. An antiemetic is something that makes you not vomit. So emetics, these are things that would induce vomiting. Foxglove. Yeah. God, why are there so many weird words in here? Emmenagogues and menagogues. I'm going to look that one up too. Spelt weird. I'm going to have to break this into parts because I want to talk to them about just this list. And a emmenagogue is a stimulant, is a substance that stimulates or increases menstrual flow. I don't know why you would want to increase menstrual flow. Like, I could understand maybe. Okay, so I don't know. I genuinely don't know, and this is making me want to do more research deeper past this book, because honestly, fuck this book. Emollients, expectorants, so things that make you be able to like cough up mucus. Eyes, feet, fever, see antipyretic, fingernails, things that are good for your fingernails. High protein diet, sure. Fixatives, I keep getting distracted. Flea repellents, so some of these are true, but you have to be really careful about using them, because some of the flea repellents are really bad for cats. Like, they'll work for dogs, but they could kill your cat. So I'm always advocating to be really, really careful when you look at the natural remedies for fleas. Be really careful. And even when you're looking at the ones prescribed by your vet too, and the ones you can buy in the store that are topicals, there are some that if you use them on your dog and your cat comes in contact with your dog, it can make your cat really, really sick. And depending on the size of your dog and the dosage you've used, can potentially be life-threatening to your cat. So always check with your vet, read the box, read the label, and be very careful with holistic, because they don't often label that it can be toxic to cats. So there are certain oils, and for a lot of people, that if you distill essential oils in your house or things like that because you like the smell, be really careful about which ones you use around your cats. I'm not 100% sure on the list, because I don't distill essential oils. I don't like strong smells, so I don't do that. But if you are somebody that does, I really, 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 really recommend doing your research to make sure they're safe for your cat if you have one. Anyway, frigidity. So I'm assuming this is again goes with aphrodisiacs, like because typically women who are not interested in a sexual situation are often referred to as frigid. So I assume that's what this is. Fungus, yeast, and mold inhibitors. So again, some of these can actually help reduce mold growth. Garlic is on here, and garlic is one of them. Gallbladder, genitals, gleat. I don't know what gleat is. Gleat. A watery discharge from the urethra caused by gonorrhea. If you have gonorrhea, please go to a doctor. Please get an antibiotic. Goiter, gout, hair, headache, heart, hemorrhage, hernia, hiccups, hips. To ease the pain in your hips. Hypnotics. I thought we already did those. Indigestion, insect repellents, insomnia, internal disorders, intestines, itchy skin. So some of these can actually work on your skin. Some of them do not. It depends on what the itchy skin is caused by. So I have found certain things that can be actually really cooling for my eczema, or insect bites, or allergic reaction to something. Most of these I wouldn't say are on here, but I have found dandelion, like a dandelion balm, works really well when my skin's really itchy in the spring from allergies, which is fun. Kidneys and spleen, see also liver and spleen, as if your kidneys and your liver are the same thing. Laxatives, I thought those would be under catharsis, but maybe not. Lethargy, to counteract. Liver and spleen, see also kidney and spleen. Lung, memory. Menstrual, see emmenagogues. Mental disorders. So we have all right, so here, like, already there's been some problems. We're getting into some weird shit straight off the bat. So we're gonna make this a couple of parts, because this shit is too much for me. So we have, under mental disorders, we have hypochondria. So the starred things in here are things that are really useful apparently for it. And under hypochondria, she has dandelion starred, as if doing something with a dandelion can fix an actual diagnosable mental disorder. Hysteria. So now we get a little bit of misogyny. Um, Things like valerian, and if I remember right, the valerian, it's like a sedative. So that would kind of make sense for the 70s, I guess. Melancholia, which has things like St. John's wort and tansy. Tansy's poison, at least to horses. I'm assuming it's poisonous to people. And then we have mental states, including nervous complaints. You just take some chamomile if you're feeling a bit anxious. There's no such thing as anxiety here. Migraine. Moth repellents, so some of these can work. Insects don't like strong smells, and there are certain things. Cedar does, so that's why a lot of older clothing chests and armoires and things like that, dressers, were made out of cedar, is because cedars repelled moths and a lot of other insects. Though the freaking earwigs that get into my house seem to really like my cedar stuff, so cedar doesn't repel earwigs, but I don't have a moth problem. Mother's milk. I honestly, I don't know why I've kept this on my shelf for so long, because I'm over it already. Mouth, teeth, and gums, muscle relaxants, narcotics, nerves. So I don't know why that wasn't, well, maybe it's nerve pain. I don't know. Nightmares. Okay, so the other one was to induce dreams, probably, which I guess I could have just looked at the list of things they were talking about and probably could have determined it, right? Dreams. Why are we going back to this? Cloves, ginseng, mugwort, peony, rosemary. So I guess to have things you put on your pillow to have nice dreams. Nightmares. To guard against nightmares. Lavender. I have heard, put lavender into a pillow and put it under your pillow and all that stuff. Rosemary. Some of these are the same things. Rue. Nose. Obesity. Here we go. Again, there's a lot of fat phobia in this book. So to fight obesity, you can take coca. So there's indigenous knowledge around coca before colonialism, before people went and stole it away and went, hey, we can make this into a drug and we can fucking sell it. There's a really interesting history surrounding the usage of a lot of plants that today have been taken and modified and made into not very good things, had been good things before. Coca is one of them. I'm not going to talk. I know the basics. I've read about it recently and understand that it is not for me. Oh, whose video did I just watch today that mentioned this, actually? It was a book. It was a book channel. I'm gonna, if I try to remember, I will put it in the comments. It's low. I don't remember the name of her channel, but she had a really interesting thing on it. So if I can remember which video it was that I watched today, I'll put it in there. Because I was like, she said that, and I was like, oh yeah, I read that a little while ago, and I think it's cool. Anyway, putting it in here, there's a lot of theft of indigenous knowledge in here without creditation to indigenous peoples at all. And that bothers me a lot. The whole white witchery aesthetic stealing a lot really bothers me. So moving on, eat some hard-boiled eggs. Fast, just stop eating. Fennel, as if putting a certain herb on your food is gonna, fennel's good, tastes good. I put it in bread. I like it in bread. Grapefruit juice. I've heard this before, that if you drink grapefruit juice, it can curb food cravings or whatever, and it's a metabolism booster. Kelp, cola nut, that I'm not sure what it is. But I assume it's another one of those things that species of plant from the genus Cola, placed formerly in the cocoa family. It's another stimulant. It's a stimulant. Cola nuts are perhaps known to best Western culture as flavoring ingredient and one of the sources of caffeine in cola. Makes sense, because this is Kola and cola is COLA. and other similarly flavored beverages, although cola nut extract is no longer used in major commercial drinks such as Coca-Cola. So, yeah. Stimulant, caffeine. Take some caffeine. And nettle tea. So I don't know about. I know that nettle tea is supposed to be good for reducing inflammation. So maybe it's the assumption that that obesity is inflammation. I don't know, but this is just the brushing into the fat phobia here. So then we have painkillers. We have paralysis, which is in parentheses epilepsy, and I may be wildly wrong, but I really don't think epilepsy is a form of paralysis. I don't know enough, but medically saying those are the same thing makes me feel icky, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not a doctor, not that kind of doctor. Anyway, parasitides. I don't know why this wasn't in anthelmintics, but okay. These are external parasites, but they still could have been in anthelmintics. Blackberry to get rid of ringworm. Columbine to get rid of head lice. I don't know if any of these work. Threadworms, roundworms, tapeworms, hookworms. So these are internal ones. So I don't know why these weren't in anthelmintics. The organization of this list drives me nuts. It's like she just like threw together this list, put a bunch of stuff that they were useful for, and went, okay, there's my list, and then didn't go back and like edit it. And I know Excel wasn't a thing in the 70s, but God. Oh, this lady. Okay. We have piles, poison antidotes, poison ivy or poison oak, poisonous plants. So then a partial listing, she says, of poisonous plants. Which, interestingly enough, she doesn't include belladonna, which she's mentioned like 3 times, and belladonna is 100% of poison. So, but we've got foxglove, and mandrake, and tansy, and wormwood. And then we have psychedelics, which why wouldn't those have been in the hallucinogens one, the hypnotics? I don't know. So psychedelics, she includes belladonna under psychedelics, as well as cocaine. I don't know if cocaine is classed as psychedelic. I don't know. I've never done cocaine. I don't know any drugs. Like, I'm not good to talk to about drugs. I don't know squat. Purgatives, rejuvenatives or restoratives, rheumatism, ringworm, scabies. And then we have sedatives, pulmonary sedatives and respiratory sedatives. I don't know if this is just a misuse of the word sedative or a use that I'm not familiar with. Okay, here's another word that I don't know. Sialagogues. Sialagogues. Spelling bees are not my thing. Sialagogue meaning. Google is my friend today. A drug that promotes the secretion of saliva. Skin for bathing, for dry skin. Interesting. Animal and vegetable oils for dry skin. Sure, you can. I mean, I guess some of the stuff I use on my skin, I guess like shea butter oil is technically a vegetable oil, but it makes it seem like you can just go grab the vegetable oil out of the cabinet and smear it on your skin. Clover, cowslip, elder, violet tea, honeydew melon, slippery elm bark. Interesting. For irritants, for oily skin, witch hazel, cucumber, those work really well for oily skin. To refine your pores. There is a lot. This woman is obsessed with like your outward appearance, which is interesting because I have another book on witchcraft from the 70s that I really do want to read as well if I do this series again, because I've read that book a couple of times and I really enjoyed it. It was one of my first introductions to Wicca and alternatives to Wicca. And I feel like that book did a much better job of talking about self-acceptance and internalized stuff. And this woman is very much like, if you're not skinny and pretty, you're not a witch. And it's a really interesting dichotomy between the two, so maybe I'll do that one next, but I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm already at 30 minutes and I've just been reading a list. All right, so then we've got sleep, sneezes, sores, staph sores, which if you have a staph infection, get some antibiotics. Stimulants, which I thought we already did, respiratory stimulants. Stomachic. Stomachic. I'm assuming that's like stomach ache, but I could be wrong. Lettuce, apparently, whatever it is. Stomachic. Stomachic. Promoting appetite or assisting digestion. A medicine or tonic that promotes appetite or assists digestion. We had appetite stimulants in the beginning. Why aren't these under appetite stimulants? Kidney stones. Why weren't this under kidney? Sunburn, aloe vera. Yeah, everybody knows that. Maybe they didn't in the 70s. Sorry, I'm just getting irritated now. Teeth. See also dental, anodynes, and mouth. Thirst, to allay. Why are we using words that are dumb? Sorry, they're probably not dumb. I just don't know them. Relieve or alleviate. Because she says to like reduce or to alleviate before. Why does she say allay now? Throat, tissue. What kind of tissue? Tobacco, herbs to kill the habit. And this is, okay, so going along with that indigenous, like stealing of indigenous stuff in this book, okay? So she talks about how you can go ahead and use coca. You can go ahead and use other traditional indigenous knowledge, but you better not be smoking the tobacco. We're not going to allow that to be part of the indigenous things that we take, because we're going to run them through our white women filters and determine which ones we're okay with and which ones not. And we're going to be okay with we're going to be okay with using cocaine to fix this thing, but then we're going to tell you the next thing how to get off of drugs. Like, make up your mind. Like, if you're gonna judge everything under the same banner. Like, I don't understand. So anyway, tonic, tranquilizers, ulcers, stomach. So stomach ulcers. So we're gonna be specific about the type of ulcers, but we're not gonna be specific about the types of tissue. Just not. Just gonna do what you want. Urine, to contain your urine. Vaginal discharge. See gleats, whites, and douche. Please don't see them. Not in this book. If you've got a problem, talk to a doctor. Venereal. So now again, here we have how to treat gonorrhea again. As the top one, gonorrhea, and then we have syphilis and both, just in case you got both. See a doctor. See a doctor if you potentially have been exposed. See a doctor, get tested, and get medical treatment. Don't do this. Just get medically treated so that you don't give it to somebody else. Vitamins: A, B1, B2, B12, C, D, E, G, K. Niacin. P. Phosphorus, but then she calls it rutin and bioflavonoids. P is phosphorus. I'm so confused. I don't know what vitamin P is actually, because I'm just thinking about the scientific, thinking about chemistry, not vitamins. I don't know what vitamin P is, but apparently it's rutin and bioflavonoids. Vomit, C, emetic and antiemetic. Vulnerary. Again, don't know what this word is either. Why? Medicine used in the healing of wounds. Why isn't that under wounds, which is one of the next ones that I'm going to read? So warts, whites, again, vaginal discharge. Don't do this shit. Go to a doctor if it's bad. Wind, which she puts in parentheses as farting. This book, man. Witchcraft herbs, parentheses, to use in witchcraft. There's way more than this list. Like, a lot of this shit oh my gosh. Anyway. Or for protection from witchcraft. Depends on which culture your witchcraft comes from, because such as I'm not gonna get into it right now because I want to actually have some citations and some resources and stuff. So maybe when I sum this all up, but already this is looking like it's gonna be way more parts than I wanted. Maybe I'll do part 1 herbs, and then part 2 things. Like, because it's herbs and things. Okay, anyway, moving on. Wounds. See sores and boils, but then a whole list of things for wounds. Can you tell I'm getting like frustrated? I'm getting really fidgety. Wrinkles. X-ray burns. If you have X-ray burns, you have a problem. And she's literally just listed aloe vera. Like, X-rays are radiation. If you have burns from an X-ray, aloe vera ain't gonna help you. Okay, so now that I'm into this, I might as well just keep going. So then we have a whole chapter 2 is glossary of terms useful in pharmacology. So we're apparently discussing pharmacology in the previous one, and now, so this is the glossary of a bunch of stuff that she just said, but also, okay, so this, I'm not going to read all of these. It's 7 pages of glossary terms. So she has things like abortifacient, acetum, which the previous owner of this book highlighted, as a solution of aromatic substances in vinegar. And then I like looking at what people highlighted. So yeah, so she highlighted that. And then she highlighted antihydrotic, an agent that checks perspiration. We looked that one up. And then, so here, yep, cathartic, an agent used to encourage the evacuation of the bowel. And then, yeah, so all the ones that she used. But then, interestingly enough, I just happened to come across one that says rhizome. And I didn't know a rhizome was a pharmacological term. I thought it was a botany term. In botany, a horizontal underground stem, often enlarged by food storage, such as ginger root, from the Greek word meaning root. So, yeah. And then she has whites, a lay term for leukorrhea, an inflammation of the uterine or vaginal mucosa characterized by white or yellowish discharge from the vagina. I don't know. That's my hour rant on literally just a list of herbs. So that's how I feel about this book, and I am sorry. It's important that we be really critical of the sources that we read in this realm, because so many of these sources are not scientifically validated. They're not cited correctly. They're not sourced correctly. They're not correct. They can be dangerous. They can be harmful to different groups and different. They can be harmful to you. They can be harmful to the people that they've taken information from, and they can be flat out dangerous for some people. And I think we should be really critical, and we should discuss books that are good and books that aren't good. And this is a book that is not good. So that's part 1. Oh my God, maybe I should have bullet pointed this out. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.